What's going on YouTube? BGram44 back here again today with another banger, gang. Listen, we have been, I'm still sick as you can hear. We have been waiting for this update or like this blog post for a very, very long time. This is the matchmaking intel blog. It's the first time Call of Duty has ever given us an inside look at matchmaking, how matches are decided. Everyone keeps talking about like skill-based matchmaking, and I mean, people made such a point out of it for so long, including myself, that they finally said, you know what, we're gonna come out, we're gonna talk about matchmaking, how the game decides who plays with who. So let's get right into it. Today's intel is intended to kick off that dialogue and is a new beginning for what we hope will be an ongoing conversation about matchmaking, sharing our process and learning with you to answer questions and concerns we've seen within the community. Essentially, the concerns are skill-based matchmaking. You're having to like sweat your ass off every time you get into a lobby because you're just playing demons constantly. This blog focuses on how matchmaking works across multiplayer only. We will be continuing a conversation about matchmaking other modes such as Warzone and ranked play at a later date. Regardless, this is a super good start. This is good stuff. For players that have heard the term but aren't familiar with what we're referring to, matchmaking is a multi-factor process to place players on teams with and against each other to compete in online games. The single biggest priority with respect to multiplayer matchmaking is delivering a fun experience to our players. While we have many years of testing and learning as part of the matchmaking process, we are constantly working to deliver the best experience possible. For that reason, we will continue to test and look forward to more enhancements to come. We often see the community refer to our matchmaking system as skill-based matchmaking, or SBMM. Call of Duty does consider skill, or more specifically player performance, as a component, as do in the industry, but skill is not the dominant variable. We consider and prioritize several factors to create lobbies. So essentially, here we go, and they are in order. Like, this list right here is in order of like priority to not. So number one being connection. So this, over the years, you've heard like a million people on TikTok like, oh, these guys are on VPNs, whatever. That's connection. VPN, the theory behind running a VPN. If you ran a VPN of a oddball country, so if you live in the US and you ran like a place in Singapore, then they're going to, when you go in through this process of all these different factors on connection, they're going to go, this is weird. We have someone in Singapore, like, but they've been matching with all these people in the US. The system gets confused. It doesn't know what to do. So your match time takes longer. It takes longer to find a game, but it just eventually says, screw it, throw them in a game. And it's random. So you're going to either get in a sweaty lobby or you're going to get into a super bot lobby. There's really no in between with a VPN. And that's really how it works. That's based on connection. But right here it says playlist diversity, time to match, recent maps and modes, skill performance, input device platform, and voice chat. I had no idea voice chat played any sort of factor in this. Obviously input device can, because on console you can set it to console only. Platform, you can set, if you go to console only, a lot of times it'll put you with only your platform. Skill performance, that's SBMM. There's no way that's what, like, fourth on the list. There's no shot they put that low. Time to match, this is essentially connection based, you know, how good's your connection. Recent maps and modes makes a ton of sense. They're just putting like players together. Playlist diversity, same thing. They're just finding players that usually play the same amount of games, and they probably do that for camaraderie purposes. If voice chat, especially voice chat's a factor, if they see you use voice chat in game a ton and they see what maps you've been playing, what modes, stuff like that, they're gonna try to put you in with people that are similar to what you like, you know, like players that like what you like, maybe so you can make new friends, get new teammates, stuff like that. It makes a ton of sense over the years. Like the people you meet, you play the exact same thing, they're very similar. I mean, Call of Duty's got it dialed in, but SBMM is definitely like overbearing. So let's actually go through and see what they say about this. Connection, as the community will attest, ping is king. Connection is the most critical and heavy weighted factor in the matchmaking process, hence a VPN. It makes a ton of sense. Time to match, this factor is the second most critical to matchmaking process. We want to spend time playing the game rather than waiting for matches to start. So this just kind of ties into connection. These two are essentially the same thing. They're just kind of supporting number one with number two. 3, the factors are also critical to the matchmaking process. Playlist diversity, a number of playlists available for players to choose from. Recent maps and modes, considering maps you've recently played on, as well as your mode preference, editable and quick play settings. Skill performance, this is used to give our players a global community with a wide skill range the opportunity to have an impact in every match. And then we have input device, controller or mouse and keyboard platform, the device, PC, console that you're playing on, voice chat enabled or disabled. So that this makes a difference too. And if I had to guess right now, having voice chat enabled is probably going to put you with some bots. And that's the only thing I think, unless you disabled it, maybe like some Timmies, their parents don't want them using voice chat, so they disable it. There's going to be a way, like looking at this list, to figure out how to, you know, kind of get around the system. Every time a player begins matchmaking multiplayer, for example, the process needs to work through all these factors and to find other players to quickly assemble a lobby that is stable and competitive. These factors have resulted in a process that we believe provides the best player experience and creates a stronger community for Call of Duty worldwide. Let's get more technical on a few of these factors. All right, so measuring connection, whether you're playing for fun, with friends, or looking to climb to the leaderboards, connection is the most important part of Call of Duty Online experience. Call of Duty matchmaking process evaluates a metric we call delta ping, which is the difference in round trip time of the data between your best data center, almost always the one closest to you, and the data center on which your lobby has been placed. So essentially, they're trying to see how long it takes your ping to get back to you from your delta center to the game compared to the host to the game. That's usually, they always say the host is the best connection. It's how compatible everyone is with the host of that lobby. To reiterate, we always try to maximize the times we place players in data centers that are closest to them. So again, this is where kind of ping comes into play. You put yourself in these like third world countries, and they're the game's struggling to find a full lobby, so it just kind of throws you anywhere. Call of Duty uses client-server model to host matches, where the time it takes to share information between the player, client, and the data center, dedicated server, has an impact on the overall feel of the match. The Call of Duty netcode, which we've discussed in the past, works to reduce the effect of latency, but cannot completely eliminate it. The matchmaking process seeks to reduce the overall amount of latency by prioritizing stable connections or low ping with a shortened wait time in mind. Measuring time to match for matchmaking. If the wait time in a lobby is successfully long, players typically recycle the process by canceling out of the matchmaking search and restarting it, or even quitting. This does not quicken the matchmaking process, and in fact can be detrimental. For example, in the popular Modern Warfare 3 Rust Met playlist consisting of Rust and Shipment and Rotation, players often leave lobbies or matches early on, hoping to re-queue into Shipment instead. This creates a vacant spot on a team during an early stage of the match. As the matchmaking process may prioritize backfilling that spot, this could result in players perceiving that Rust is disproportionately selected over Shipment, TLDR. Trying to cherry pick maps may have an unexpected result. Our goal is to ensure that players spend more time playing matches rather than waiting for them. So like it's saying it right here, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot by leaving Rust matches, because then they're going to want people to actually play Rust because Shipment seems weighted heavier. So then they're pushing it harder. So there you go. If you leave Rust matches because you want Shipment, which I don't understand why you would do that. It's so much easier to get more kills on Rust than Shipment. The spawn traps are outrageous. Then you're, as a multiplayer player, you're just shooting yourself in the foot with everybody else. So congrats, you suck. Measuring skill for matchmaking. While skill is one of several factors in Call of Duty multiplayer matchmaking, we know the community wants more information of how it fits in the process. Skill is based on overall performance, kills, deaths, so KD, and your win-loss ratio, and more, including mode selection, recent matches, and overall metric across. I mean, this right here, none of this matters. This matters right here. Boom. Kills and deaths, so your KD, and then your win-loss rate. Right there. If you have a high KD and a high win-loss, they're going to put you with people with a high KD and a high win-loss. Back in the day, this wasn't as factored in, though. That's the big problem. Connection's always going to have a factor, like, no doubt. But you can't tell me that based on my, let's just say where I live, my connection, that there are only people who are absolute demons at this game. You see what I'm saying? So that's skill-based matchmaking. They can definitely tone this down right here, 100%. And they should. They absolutely should. You can't expect a bad player to get good if they're never playing good players. So just keep that in mind. Future communications. In addition to today's blog, our technology team is developing a ping and matchmaking white paper for those inclined to get more granular information about Call of Duty matchmaking. Stay tuned for this publication. I'm not going to go over this right here, like the more granular, like actual like code and that stuff. It's way out of my field. I just play COD. I've played it forever. I kind of have an understanding of the game, but I'm not trying to dive in that heavy. There's going to be plenty of people covering that, I'm sure, who can break it down in professional terms rather than me, where I'm just like kind of blabbering. If you have any questions, let's see. This is just community questions. How does Call of Duty consider player engagement time played as a factor in matchmaking? We do not consider how often or how much you play when determining matchmaking. Does the Call of Duty matchmaking process impact any in-game elements such as hit registration, player visibility, aim assist, damage, etc.? No, our matchmaking process does not impact gameplay elements. That's been a huge one. People talk about damage. Like, I've heard this makes me brain dead. Like, every time I've heard someone complain about this, it makes me absolutely brain dead. They say you get shadow banned because they're so good. They're like, oh, dude, I'm shadow banned, so not all of my shots are going to detect, so I'm losing gunfights. No, you just suck, brother. You're not hitting headshots. You're not placing your shots as good as the person in front of you. You're getting smashed. And then obviously in your head, if that's your mindset, like that they're affecting your damage or visibility because of SBMM, if that's how your mind works, then also in your head, there's no other player in the world that's better than you. So you're going to find any excuse you can to justify why you're getting absolutely thraxed in every game you go in. So no, this is absolutely ass. Thank God they added this question to this list. I hope that shuts all the dorks up. It won't, but hopefully it does. I mean, when they banned the Cronus and everything, people were still in my comments on YouTube going, you rock a Cronus, you hack, you have aimbot. People are absolutely thick-headed. Get it in your head that people are better than you. Just like there are billions of players better than me. Whatever, man. It's outrageous. The spending money on Call of Duty content such as bundles, battle pass, change how players are matched. Money spent does not in any way, shape, or form factor into matchmaking. I've seen videos on YouTube about this. Again, you're a meathead. Does Call of Duty use bots in multiplayer matchmaking? Call of Duty does not use bots as part of the general matchmaking process. If this changes in the future, we will inform the community. The only game that there's two actually that I know of that runs bots is Fortnite actively. Fortnite actively runs bots in their multiplayer, and PUBG actively runs bots in their multiplayer. Or they're both battle royales, whatever. Do partners or content creators get special consideration in general matchmaking? No, we do not change the matchmaking process based on who owns the account. In specific cases, such as for events like Call of Duty Next, we may be required to customize how lobbies are formed. However, these events usually take place in private matches and do not impact general matchmaking. Let's see. Have you ever considered an opt-in, opt-out system for matchmaking algorithm? Our data suggests that splitting the player bases with an opt-in, opt-out matchmaking system will have negative consequences on the overall player pool. That means potentially longer wait times based on the type of matchmaking selected. Plus add into playlist map and mode history, platform, all that into consideration with matches with poor connection. That makes sense. Have you ever tested removing skill as a consideration for matchmaking? We have run tests over the years to determine if removing skill as a consideration for matching makes sense. We will continue to launch these tests periodically. To date, the data remains consistent with what we detailed above. Players tend to quit matches or stop playing if they're getting blown out. Thank God Call of Duty's addressing this, as they should, bro. People are leaving. I love that they have data for this. Players tend to quit matches or stop playing if they're getting blown out. If they are getting, this right here should read, if they're getting back shots, if they are getting blown out, resulting in a negative overall experience for all players in the lobby and general player population. We purposefully do not disclose when we test to occur, blah, 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 may impact feedback, because they're going to be like, oh, we're testing SBMM, and people aren't going to be leaving matches, you know, they're going to be like, oh, it's so great, blah, blah, blah. No, if you're getting your backs blown out, boy, stop leaving matches. Your ass cheeks. Oh, I love it. I love it. That's great. That's good stuff right there. Kudos to COD for putting their foot down. Look, that's how it works. That's how matchmaking works. We're going to learn more about Warzone. Essentially, what we've learned today, get better at the game. They're not like hindering your performance. They're not taking away your damage. They're not making it hard to see enemies. Nothing like that. Your ass cheeks, quit leaving the match when you're getting your back blown out, and maybe you'll get better by toughing it out through better players. 100%, bro. You can't be a college football player. You know, let's say you play at a D3 college, and then they say, oh, go play the Kansas City Chiefs. Go play the Philadelphia Eagles. You're going to get your back blown out. It's a whole different level, bro. If you're playing someone better than you, you're obviously going to lose. You can't say, oh, I'm super good at golf. I shoot a 100 every time I play. You go play a scratch golfer, you're getting slapped, okay? You can't be like, oh, well, in real life, it's harder for you to have that excuse of, oh, someone's like suppressing me or blah, blah, blah. But you get on the game, those Twitter fingers go crazy. Everyone's like, oh my God. No, your back's getting blown out. Call of Duty said it, not me. If you're new to the channel, enjoy the content, man, hit that sub button, crush that like button, wipe those tears away, and I'll catch you tomorrow for another banger. Let's get a game.